Bombshell Gooners. William Saliba has just been confirmed for surgery, and it means Arsenal's entire transfer window has been turned completely upside down overnight. Meanwhile, a £60 million centre-back, previously considered an unlikely target, has suddenly become an urgent and realistic signing. And Mikel Arteta is personally leading the pursuit. And finally, TEAMtalk has just revealed Arsenal's definitive stance on Martin Ødegaard's future, bringing fresh clarity to one of the biggest questions surrounding the club this summer. If you want all the details on these massive stories as Arsenal's summer plans take a dramatic turn, subscribe right now, turn on notifications, and let's get straight into it. Let's jump straight into the first story because L'Équipe have just confirmed the news that every Arsenal fan was dreading. William Saliba will undergo surgery on his chronic back problem, with the club anticipating he will miss 4 to 5 months of action. That means the best centre-back on the planet will not be available for the start of Arsenal's Premier League title defence, and the transfer implications of that timeline are enormous. The full story behind how this injury reached this point is genuinely heartbreaking. Saliba had been managing chronic back pain for months, playing through it on strong painkillers, following a carefully managed light training program, pushing himself through every match because his team needed him. He played the entire Champions League final against PSG in Budapest in that condition. He went to the World Cup in that condition. And during France's semi-final defeat to Spain, his body finally gave out completely. He turned to his centre-back partner Dayot Upamecano and said simply that his back was dead. He collapsed to the ground shortly after. The bravery behind those words is staggering, and it makes what he contributed to Arsenal's title-winning campaign even more remarkable than it already appeared. But now Arsenal must deal with the reality. 4 to 5 months without Saliba means the title defence begins with a gaping hole at the foundation of everything Arteta builds. Gabriel Magalhaes is irreplaceable alongside him, but beyond Gabriel and Christian Mosquera, the options are severely limited. Calafiori and Hincapié can play centrally, but are both left-footed, creating an obvious imbalance in a two-centre-back system. Timber is needed at right-back. The defensive depth that looked adequate 2 weeks ago has been exposed as critically insufficient overnight. That is why Arsenal's monitoring of Ezri Konsa suddenly makes urgent sense. The 28-year-old Aston Villa centre-back is Premier League proven, experienced in the biggest moments, and crucially demonstrated his versatility by operating at right-back during England's World Cup quarter-final win over Norway. Arteta is understood to be personally driving the interest. The problem is the valuation gap. Villa wants £60 million, Arsenal are closer to £35 million. But with Saliba facing months on the sidelines and the title defence at stake, that gap may be far easier to bridge now than it was before this injury update arrived. Arsenal may have very little choice but to try. So Gooners, given Saliba's injury, do you think Arsenal must now pay whatever Villa demand for Konsa, even at £60 million? Drop your verdict in the comments right now. Now let's talk about Ben White, because the Saliba surgery update has just rendered one of the most settled assumptions of Arsenal's entire summer completely irrelevant. And the reasons behind this dramatic reversal reveal exactly how fragile defensive planning becomes when a player of Saliba's importance is suddenly unavailable. Earlier this summer, the picture around White was clear. Arsenal were prepared to listen to offers in the region of £25 to £30 million. Everton had shown interest. Jurriën Timber was fit enough to take the right-back role, other options like Fresneda were being pursued as competition, and White was deemed surplus to requirements. His exit felt like a matter of time and negotiation rather than genuine uncertainty. That was 2 weeks ago. Now the situation has been completely transformed by circumstances that nobody could have controlled or predicted. Saliba missing 4 to 5 months creates an immediate crisis at centre-back. Gabriel Magalhaes is the only established, trusted option in that position right now, and relying on one centre-back for the opening months of a title defence is not a position any manager at this level would willingly accept. White's versatility is the critical factor that makes him suddenly irreplaceable. He played centre-back throughout his entire first season at Arsenal. It is not a new or unfamiliar role for him. He can step into that position immediately without any adaptation period and provide the quality and experience Arteta needs while Saliba recovers. Timber covers right back. Calafiori and Hincapi provide backup on the left side of defence. But without White available as genuine central defensive cover, the entire system becomes dangerously thin at its most important position. The article makes a point about young Marley Salmon providing emergency cover. The 16-year-old is a genuinely bright talent, but asking a 16-year-old to cover for the best centre-back on the planet in the opening months of a Premier League title defence is not a serious proposition. Arsenal cannot go into August with that as their contingency plan. White has served this club with distinction for 5 years. He has been a Premier League champion, a Champions League finalist, and one of the most reliable performers in every system Arteta has deployed. The summer was supposed to be his farewell. Instead, fate has handed him an unexpected reprieve, and one that the club genuinely needs. Ben White is staying. And right now, that is exactly the right call. So Gooners, are you glad Ben White is staying given everything Arsenal are now dealing with defensively? Or do you think the club should still look to move him on and replace him with a new signing instead? Let me know. Now let's round things off with the story that should finally and definitively end weeks of speculation, rumour and genuine anxiety about one of the most important figures in Arsenal's recent history. Because TEAMtalk have just confirmed the club's unambiguous position on Martin Ødegaard's future, and the details behind that confirmation are more reassuring than even the most optimistic Gooner might have hoped for. The headline is simple and clear. None of Arsenal's transfer pursuits this summer, not Rodgers, not Guimaraes, not Alvarez, should be interpreted as preparation for life without Odegaard. Arteta remains a massive admirer of his captain and considers him one of the central pillars of the project for years to come. Arsenal view him alongside Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka as one of the 3 defining figures of the current era, the irreplaceable core around whom everything else is built. And the practical detail that makes this most concrete, Andrea Berta has already held initial discussions with Odegaard's representatives over a new long-term contract. Those conversations are described as positive. Odegaard has 2 years remaining on his current deal, is extremely happy in North London, and has absolutely no desire to relinquish the captaincy he earned through years of consistent excellence and the leadership that ended Arsenal's 22-year Premier League drought. The Turkish Galatasaray rumour was rubbished almost before it finished spreading. Carlo Ancelotti praised him as the defining influence on Norway's stunning victory over Brazil. Vinicius Jr. himself credited Odegaard for controlling the game and making life impossible for the 5-time world champions. A player who can dominate a World Cup semi-final while clearly not operating at his physical peak, managing his condition through what must have been a challenging tournament, is not a player you sell. He is a player you build around for the next 5 years. And here is the framing that makes the most sense of everything Arsenal are doing this summer. Last summer was about raising the floor, adding depth and covering every weakness that had cost the club trophies in previous seasons. This summer is about raising the ceiling, adding the ruthlessness, the physical power, and the ball-striking ability that the current squad cannot quite generate consistently from open play. Rodgers adds physical dominance on the left. Alvarez adds progressive brilliance through the middle. Guimaraes adds elite athletic quality in a double pivot alongside Rice, but Odegaard remains the conductor of the entire orchestra. Arteta does not want new instruments to replace him. He wants more instruments around him, so that the music this team can produce becomes genuinely unstoppable. That is the most exciting vision for next season, and Odegaard is right at the centre of it. So Gooners, does this Odegaard contract update give you complete confidence that the Arsenal captain will be signing a new long-term deal this summer, or do you still have concerns about his future at the club? I want to hear every single opinion in the comments. Alright Gooners, smash that subscribe button right now if you haven't already joined this family. Every Arsenal update, every transfer bombshell, every breaking injury news, delivered straight to you completely free the moment it breaks.